Georgetown, just not enough for the UConn Huskies. 86-77 is your final. UConn carried about a 20-point lead throughout this one, but a backdoor cover by Georgetown for those holding tickets. But it's 18 consecutive losses for the once storied program as they fall to number 21. All right, let's get our guy Gary Parrish in the mix to break this one down. GP, not a whole lot between these two from tip to final horn. As we said there, a late push to get inside the number by the Georgetown Hoyas. But your initial reaction to this outcome is what?
It was a really business-like performance from UConn. Joe, you never know how a team is going to respond after such an emotional win like the win UConn had earlier this week against Villanova. Dan Hurley obviously gets thrown out of that game. Huskies win anyway. And then next up is an afternoon affair against a Georgetown team that hasn't won a league game yet. Would UConn come out flat? Would UConn have the proper, emotion and intensity to actually make sure this is not a competitive basketball game? And, as you noted, that is what they did pretty much from the opening tip. They led by as many as 20 points with a little more than 5 minutes to go. And, it sort of took their foot off the gas a little bit in the final 5 minutes, which allowed Georgetown to get that backdoor cover. Mm-hmm. I know people who were playing UConn disappointed in that, but still, if you're Dan Hurley, you got to feel pretty good. That's 5 straight wins, and right now, that's looking like a team that is going to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, you're taking me exactly where I want to go next here, Gary. And it's a team that's coming into their own at the right time, a program with their own history and expectations when we do get to postseason play. So I'll ask you this, what constitutes success for UConn this season? Obviously, the internal belief is there, but from where you're sitting, what would make this a successful season?
I think it's already a successful season.
Right.
But UConn basketball is back. They went through a stretch where they were in the American, which is a good league, but it's not the Big East, and it's certainly not UConn's home. The program slipped undeniably under Kevin Ollie after, they bounced into that national title. And, UConn basketball, which for my lifetime has been one of the biggest brands in the sport, was operating at a level below the level at which it should consistently operate. Dan Hurley promised, guaranteed that he was going to get it back, and it's there. I think you saw that scene last week in the victory over Villanova. That looked the way UConn home games are supposed to look. They're now playing like UConn basketball is supposed to play. And I know that so much rides on where you finish in the tournament. No UConn fan is going to be happy with a round of 64 loss, perhaps not even a round of 32 loss. But big picture, this season I think you can already call a success. And obviously, if you get a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, you are supposed to go to a Sweet 16. So if you want to set the bar there, that's fine with me, and that seems like a reasonable place. Sweet 16 for this UConn team not only looks possible, perhaps probable, and it sort of makes me think about something we had done at CBSSports.com just a few weeks ago. We were asked to pick a team outside of the top 15 of the AP poll that you could envision going to a Final Four. And I went with UConn. And the reason is because, at first, I think Dan Hurley's an A-plus coach. I think he's got the roster capable of doing it. But in moments this season, UConn had shown to be one of the best teams in the country. Like, they had shown themselves as somebody who can knock off the best. Remember, for the longest time, they were the only team that owned a victory over Auburn. Now this team, at this moment, probably playing better than ever, heading in the right direction as March approaches.
R.J. Cole leading the way here on Sunday with 18 points in this winning performance. On the wrong portion of that success-failure paradigm or the cycle that is the Georgetown Hoyas, another storied program that just can't seem to figure it out. Now 18 consecutive losses. We're approaching historic levels of failure here, especially when you're talking about a program like Georgetown, who you blink your eyes and it's just gone the other way, GP. Where does Georgetown go from here as a program?
Well, they're going to have to make a big decision at the end of the season. I mean, you look at that graphic right there, Delaware State, Lamar, and Georgetown.
Doesn't seem
Georgetown
right.
should never be on a graphic right with Delaware State and Lamar. This is incomprehensible that this program would slip to these depths. It is one of the biggest brands in the sport throughout the 80s. John Thompson III had them in a Final Four. And then once Georgetown decided to move on from him and hand the program over for Patrick Ewing, it's hard to imagine it could have gone any worse. Impossible to imagine it ever getting to this place. I promise you this. If Patrick Ewing's name was Joe Musso or Gary Parrish, he would not be the Georgetown coach next season. He probably wouldn't have even been the Georgetown coach today. Because he is Patrick Ewing, he will be treated differently. And let me be clear, he should be. He is the all-time great of that university. But whether it's significant staff changes or a complete changing of staff, starting with the head coach as well, Georgetown's got to do something, because that program should never be where it's at right now.
All right, plenty has been said, but it is time now for the Geico 15-second statement. Life always favoring the bold, so we need something bold for these two programs. One of them, take your pick here, GP. What do we need to know moving forward?
Well, I don't know if it's bold, but it is going to be a bullet point connected to this Georgetown program forever, and that is that the Hoyas are actually going to go winless in the Big East and become the first Big East team to go winless since DePaul in 2009. Even when you're bad in this league, you're never supposed to be this bad, and Georgetown is never supposed to be at the very bottom of this or any other conference. Like I said, you start, all over the country there have been disappointments this season. Memphis has been a disappointment. Michigan, relative to preseason expectations, a disappointment. But there is nothing stranger to look at than Georgetown sitting at the bottom of the Big East standings with a 0 in the win column. It's absolutely unimaginable to anybody in my age range who was raised on a sport where Georgetown was, the biggest and baddest bully on the block.
Seton Hall and Xavier are their last two shots at a W in conference play. Gary Parrish, we appreciate the insight as always.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.